Hey, Rapid Mate, wake up! Hang on. I've got an idea.
Ah! What's going on? What?
There you go. Now, you've got a show to run. Get on with it.
Okay, roll the intro. Okay, sorry about that. I guess I dozed off and forgot to wake up. But never mind, we're here now. So, let me check the script. Where did we leave off? Right, so, yeah, we're in the year 2021 now, apparently. And, yeah, what a year 2021 was. I mean, aside from the whole pandemic thing that was still going on around that time, but in the world of gaming at least, it was a huge year, and for the channel. After a few months break, it was time to get the gang back together and focus on the next chapter. We had plenty of ideas, and it was time to get started. It felt somewhat fitting to mark this new year with a new chapter, thus the term of seasons was born. To start, Boots had a very unique idea, one that we had never attempted before. Boots was going to play Metal Gear Solid, but with a twist. That's right. Boots was going to play, but you weren't going to see him play it. Instead, you were going to be treated to a series of cutscenes. So kind of like a video game movie. Now of course this is not by any stretch a new idea, as YouTube is littered with videos just like this. Now Boots would go on to record and edit these episodes all by himself, but in the midst of his third episode, that is when disaster began to strike. I recall something about a boss in the game, I think it might have even been Psycho Mantis, causing problems with the emulator, possibly, and I think that no matter what Boots was trying to do, he just couldn't seem to defeat the boss. Needless to say, the third episode would never surface, and the 2 episodes that were out were pulled. Metal Gear Solid has never to this day returned on the channel, despite many requests, but who knows, maybe someday we might get to see Snake. Solid Snake? Which Snake is it? Yeah, maybe someday. Luckily, while all of this was going on, Scone was busy playing some games for his upcoming series, Scone Scores, which we would bring it forward to officially open Season 2. Now, Scone would be playing a varied amount of games rather than just focusing on the one franchise, which of course was only done for Zelda month. And what with the series opening up on April 1st, the first game that Scone elected to play was a bit of a head scratcher.
Oh no. Well, as you can see,
Scone would go on to make another 3 episodes following this, and then that would be it. We wouldn't hear anything else for quite some time. Scone kind of went off the grid, just flat out disappeared. So, as you can imagine, we were in a little bit of a pickle. Confused, but we had to press on. And so, luckily, I was working away on not 1, but 2 series for the next season of Rapid Plays, and one of those being Super Mario 64, with one goal in mind: to collect every single star, even if it killed my brain cells. Yeah, a red coin. What the hell's happened to the power though? Are you seeing this? It's practically saying I'm dead. Oh, come on, Mario, 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 Mario. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, Mario! Although, looking back now, it admittedly hasn't aged well, but then I guess that's the same that can be said for most of the games that we play on this channel. Looking at you, Sonic Adventure 2, I'll get to you, don't you worry. One of my biggest goals this year was to kind of avoid the trope that I almost fell into in Season 1, which was having just about every game that I played be a Zelda game. I wanted to distance myself so far away from Zelda this season that I was determined to play games that weren't even considered to be Zelda clones. You can imagine my surprise when I learned that one of Nintendo's biggest ever franchises was celebrating its 25th anniversary that year. Yes, I am talking about the one and only Pokemon. Now, we had big plans for Pokemon. We even released a huge trailer celebrating the 25th anniversary. We were going to play Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Puzzle League. There was going to be a plethora of Pokemon games that we each were going to take on and play. However, there was really only myself and Cosmic, and so many of the games that we had planned had to be put on the back burner. One game that we were playing, however, or should I say two games, was Pokemon Red and Blue. Now, what most of you won't know is that the previous year, Cosmic and I had put ourselves forward to help raise money for the NHS, otherwise known as NHS Heroes, an event that was put together calling upon all gamers to raise money in an effort to help those many men and women working on the front lines in all the hospitals across the nation. The event itself was set to last 24 hours, and it was a head-to-head between Cosmic and I, using the two different versions of Pokemon to see just who was the very best that no one ever was. Unfortunately, being a very small channel, the event didn't go down too well, and we weren't able to raise much in the way of funds. So, after streaming for about 19 hours, we decided that given we had little to no views at all, we were going to call it a day. But the idea between having us on two different versions of Pokemon using the names Rapid Red and Cosmic Blue were kept and repurposed for what would be our Pokemon Nuzlocke variant. What separated our playthrough from all other Nuzlocke games out there was that ours was more points based. A move that would prove popular and something that we would continue to use even to this day. Now, it's worth mentioning around this time, of course, that this is where we would hit another huge milestone for us on the channel, the 100 subscriber mark. Now, I use the word huge with a lot of emphasis because even though to some, and many of you out there, 100 subscribers is still small, but for a channel like ourselves, who was going through a bit of a struggle during our second season, hitting that mark meant that we were doing something right, even though we had lost more than half of our members. And it gave us the incentive to keep going. And keep going we did. And with a new milestone comes a new face reveal. And this time, it came in the form of Cosmic.
I'm Cosmic. This is my face reveal. Oh, we go first. That's awesome.
One idea that we wanted to revisit was the ability to play games together. Of course, what with lockdown, that wasn't entirely possible. However, fortunately enough, Cosmic and I had recorded some games together the previous year. So we repurposed some of these games to fit nicely into his Cosmic's Cult Classic series. Hello, yeah, excited to be here. Oh, no! For a minute there,
Cosmic.
I
thought it was you.
Now, playing games online is a foregone conclusion these days. However, for games like these, well, a little bit of extra thinking is required. And while not always the greatest method, it was the only one available to us at the time. That being the Nuzlocke method. What do I mean by the Nuzlocke method? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Cosmic and I were on 2 different versions of 2 different games. This time, we would be playing 2 different versions of the same game. And that game would be Resident Evil 2. Which also happened to be my first ever playthrough of the game. And I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Don't shoot!
Now, unfortunately, during this playthrough, Cosmic's game had crashed. The benefit of using emulation and save states. Unfortunately, he was unable to finish his playthrough. Something that I hope to see done right someday. But who knows? Now, there are a few exceptions when it comes to the retro gaming community and how games are played online. For example, the wonderful team behind ModLoader64 was able to come up with a way to play classics like The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in co-op. Something that I could only dream of when I was a kid. However, I couldn't convince Cosmic to play Zelda with me, and as mentioned, well, everyone else on the team was kind of MIA. Now, one of the very best things about being a content creator in the years of COVID was that there was an influx of people doing the exact same thing. And as I mentioned previously, there was a slew of online social accounts dedicated to just doing that. And through that, I had made plenty of friends. So, on my search to find a partner to play Zelda with, I reached out to my good friends Matt and Dr. G, who also just so happened to be fans of The Legend of Zelda and had previously done a run of the randomizer in 2020. So it was the perfect match, and the first ever collaboration for Nostalgia Gaming Retro.
Y'all links haven't done shit yet. Why are you so tired?
We literally just started, Link. Calm down.
With Zelda month in full swing, we were getting very close to the end of our second year on YouTube. But something felt a little off. That was until Scony, the prodigal son, would return. And with him came the idea of doing game-based challenges. And so it was that on Christmas of 2021, Scony's 12 Days of Shitness would be born. And what made it even better was that Matt and Dr. Galaxy hung around. I mean, they must have enjoyed playing Zelda with us so much. While Scony wouldn't be partaking in any of the challenges himself, he would grant each of us a series of 3 challenges each to complete, and to the person who won the most challenges would be granted a prize. Something that we're still waiting on to this very day. To Scony's credit though, he edited the entire series by himself, and it was kind of nice for me to get a break. Despite its short lifespan, this series would later inspire other challenge series such as the Christmas Calendar 2 that would follow the next year. And speaking of the following year, things were already beginning to look a little different. You see, despite the very successful second outing for the channel, we were about to experience the greatest shake-up that this group had ever known. Because both Boots and Cosmic were leaving the group for their own reasons. Boots was due to be married the following summer, therefore wanted to focus all of his time and effort into saving for his wedding, and Cosmic wished to return to his studies in order to be a 3D games animator. And with the recent uncertain return of Scony, not to mention the questionable involvement of Inpite, the future of the channel itself being a team-based experience was kind of hanging in the balance. It was looking very likely that a Season 3, if it was to happen at all, could mark the very end for Nostalgia Gaming Retro. Hey everyone, just want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to this episode of the retrospective. I know it's been a while in between episodes, and I am trying to get these out as quickly as I can. Rest assured, there will be more to follow. Look out for the next one. I hope to drop at least one more before the end of the year. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button. Maybe even consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And I will hopefully see you for the next one. Until next time, stay cool.